May the words of my mouth and the thoughts of all of our hearts draw us closer to God, who is our rock and our Redeemer. This week's texts hold in tension the idea of having the rules, following them, and being a good person, and how that can come into conflict with following in the way of God. See, we have come to understand being a good person and being a good Christian as being one and the same all the time. But sometimes following in the way of Christ means standing up against unjust, unfair systems. That 1,700 years of church history, hear my words and do your math, 1,700 years of church history have taught us that being a Christian means being a good citizen and standing by while whatever happens, happens. But that's not the way of Jesus. And throughout all of church history, there has been another voice. One that says that the way of Christ can mean standing up even to the most powerful systems when they are wrong. That is what Jesus is about. Jesus stands up against the temple system. That the outer court of the temple, in all likelihood where this event happened, the court of the Gentiles, had been turned into a marketplace. And Jesus said that this was not okay. But I think one of the important points in this is to say that Jesus got really angry. His zeal for the house of God overcame him. Which tells me that for us as Christians, there are times when it's appropriate for us to get really angry too. Not for us to be destructive in our anger, but for our anger to be turned into zeal towards doing what is right and standing up against what is wrong, whatever that might be. It might mean being like Rosa Parks and sitting down and allowing herself to be arrested. It might mean getting in the way and saying, no, this land is sacred, and on it you will not destroy. On it you will not build a means of destruction. It might mean a lot of different things. But being a Christian does not imply standing back and letting things happen that are wrong or unjust. We have come to look upon the 10 Commandments as being some kind of ancient and universal law that apply to all people in all times and all places. And that if we can bring something back to the 10 Commandments, then we must be right. We must have won the argument. We forget that these laws, like other laws, are given to a particular people. They are given to people for their good, to create a kind of community where we can live together, and we can all expect that this is how we will live, that our neighbors will not give false testimony, that we create a community that says that work is not the most important thing, that everyone deserves a day off. If God only works 6 days a week, you are not more important than God. You get a day off too. Yet somehow, sometimes, those rules which are meant to give life end up bringing destruction and death because they are forcibly enforced against unwilling people, instead of being seen as a blessing. Right up there at the top of the 10 Commandments is the commandment not to make a graven image, not to have another God before God. And the call to us in every age is to recognize what is out there trying to be another God, so that we know to stop it. Keeping the peace at any cost can be like a false god. The idea that we shouldn't stand up and challenge things, that we should be a good citizen, which means being quiet and peaceable and not arguing. That's not the way of God. Jesus caused a ruckus, and we might be called on to cause a ruckus too. I don't know what about right now, but we need to be ready for that. We need to be aware that our faith might lead us into causing a ruckus, and that is okay. Because the wisdom of God may very well look like foolishness. The wisdom of God is standing up for the oppressed. The wisdom of God is getting in the way of the powers that be. And the wisdom of this world doesn't say that. The wisdom of this world says, get along, don't get in the way, don't interfere with the powerful. So whoever we are, whatever we're doing as Christians in the world, it is within the realm of where God may be calling us to get in the way, to cause trouble, to stand up for the outcast and the oppressed. We are called upon to look deeper than the words of the law and understand the spirit of the law, which means a spirit of love. It means a spirit of radical inclusion, of radical hospitality and community. These 10 best words promise such a good community. Jesus comes to bring such an incredible community. Paul describes such an incredible community because the conventional wisdom is thrown on its head. We're all used to listening to the powerful and disregarding the powerless. We are used to considering wisdom from experts. But we are being called upon by the gospel to listen to those who are overlooked, to listen to the oppressed, to bring in their wisdom. And so our Lenten ears this year, it is my prayer that we will open our ears this Lent to the voices of the oppressed and the voices of the forgotten. And in that way, we will know when the time has come and the situation merits it. And we might be being called upon to get in the way. Hear what the Spirit is saying to the church. Amen.